going on? Welcome back to the Friarside chat. Today is September 21st, 2023, and it was a good week for the Padres. Like, what the
An
heck?
undefeated week for the Padres.
Yeah, very, just, I don't know, actually not surprising because we talked about it with the teams they were playing, right?
Screw you. It's
A's
surprising.
and Rockies. If it's going to happen, it should happen. Okay, you're right.
They haven't done it all
You're
year.
right.
They've
You're
had
right.
easy
You're right.
stretches.
You're right.
This is surprising. They finally did it.
You're right, it's surprising.
And who'd they do it with?
Normal players.
Yeah, not superstars.
Yeah, just
I mean,
normal-
granted, superstars are showing up a little bit more now.
They're all big leaguers, but just regular big leaguers, not superstars. Well,
emerging.
A little bit of superstars mixed in,
Batten,
but for the most part,
Rosario,
Higgy, yeah,
Campy, Azokar. These are guys that are not gonna. They're not on big contracts. They're playing well. As good as the guys who were on big contracts that they're filling in for due to injury.
getting more wins.
Getting more wins. Exciting.
Yeah, love to see it. Love to see it. So that puts the Padres at 75 and 78, which means that they're only 3 games or 3 wins away from that elusive 500.
I can smell it.
that they have not been able to get to all year. There's only 9 games left in the season, and they are 5 games back in the wild card. Is it too little, too late?
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm still like, I have PTSD. I've been giving, my hope meter has been slowly going. It hit empty. Like,
Yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah.
But they're Frankensteining me right now and bringing me back to life a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm on the table not getting up yet.
It's just winning's fun.
Winning
And
is fun.
they've won 7 in a row, I think. Is that right? Because it was the last Dodger game and then 2 sweeps in a row.
It's a true streak.
It is.
It's not even like, oh, we went over the hurdle and got 4. No, we got 4, 5, 6, and 7. Like, this is a bona fide streak. Any team who is playing would count 7 as a streak. So it's fun to have it, but it's kind of like bittersweet because, like you said, maybe a little too late.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because it's like, oh, that was in them the whole time, which we all knew. And they're just now figuring it out. Is it because the monkey's off their back and the expectation was finally gone? Because
Could be.
everybody, and I mean everybody, wrote them off. The clubhouse
Us
wrote
included.
them off.
Us included.
Bo Mel wrote them off and said, hey, there's no point in us looking at the standings anymore. We just got to try and figure some things out so that we can go into the next season with momentum.
Yeah.
And they're doing that, which is a positive.
Yeah.
But now they're doing it so well, we're asking the question, should we have hope? Kind of.
Right. I mean, you mentioned it to me earlier this week, but it's like, we're seeing in the American League all these teams just getting mathematically eliminated. And so that's really, really done. Like, they're so done. The Angels, right? Good example. Shohei Ohtani left. He's like, later, guys. Padres aren't mathematically eliminated yet.
And they're
Not yet.
trending.
Yeah, it's really weird. And the Marlins aren't playing great, and the Reds aren't playing great, and the Giants aren't playing great. And those are all teams right above the Padres. It's bonkers, dude.
Let me paint you a crazy picture.
Okay, let's hear it.
Let's say the Padres do something unthinkable.
Yeah.
They win out.
Yeah.
All right.
So
they
9,
they
okay.
sweep. They come into a playoff spot. Who are their starting pitchers?
Dude.
You see, and let's get really in the realm of unicorns and different aliens.
Yeah.
Like, imagine they win the World Series with a hodgepodge.
Oh my God.
Batten, Azokar,
It would be the weirdest
pitching.
story ever in
It'd
sports.
be a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Will it most likely be a pumpkin? Yep. But what a Cinderella story it could be.
Yeah, that's just I had the thought had never even crossed my mind, and now that you bring it up, I'm just like, what? No, I don't know.
It won't happen. But it would be a miracle.
But the last week has been fun, and it's like we said, there's still things to watch, and evidently there's more than we maybe even thought to watch. So stay tuned here, and the schedule coming up doesn't look too crazy either. So with that being said, let's all give a little rundown of what the show's going to look like today. There's a really interesting article that came out from The Athletic. I believe it was everyone's good buddy Ken Rosenthal with his little bow ties. He was the head on this article, but a lot of really interesting stuff in there. And I think it was echoing a lot of the same things that you hear in some other stories. So I took some notes on that. Thought it would be interesting to talk about. Talk about Manny Machado a little bit.
Yeah.
It's an interesting
Captain Manny.
Captain Manny. As he goes, Padres go, usually. He's also dealing with some injury, so we'll talk about that a little bit. You had mentioned to me that you want to play a game, so I took one out of your book. It's not super inventive or creative, but I got a game for you.
I'm excited. Yeah. I've been wanting it. I've been giving you the games all our podcast time.
Then we're going to hop into our prospect spotlight for the week. We got a pitcher this week, so changing up a little. We had 2 position players last 2 weeks, so now we're going to be looking at a top prospect pitcher in the Padres system. And then finally, we'll take a look ahead, play out this potential Cinderella story a little bit, and go from there.
You're missing one thing, and it'll come up at some point during it, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Cy Young watch.
Yeah.
Got to give our boy some love.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he might have locked it up this last week.
Actually, you know what? Let's hop into that first, because I want to keep it quick.
Yeah. Blake Snell.
Yeah.
Hitless. No hits.
No hits.
7 innings. One of his longer outings. He's been really good for 5 or 6. Due to his pitch count, never really gets to 7.
Right.
He goes hitless into 7, gives up 4 walks, 10 Ks. Double-digit Ks again. Really, cherry on top here. And it looks like, unless he royally implodes against the Giants, it should be his. Steele had a horrible outing.
Yeah, and even then, right, like, even if he starts to show signs of going to implode against the Giants, quick hook.
Yep.
Right?
He's got to be on a
If he gives up 2 or 3 runs early, just later, it's not going to hurt him too much. You know what I mean? I think he solidified it.
Me too.
On Tuesday night. Honestly, that night was just awesome. You got the no-hitter. You have Xander Bogaerts, who's just on a heater with the walk-off bomb, 2 outs, the bottom of the 9th. Couldn't ask for more. So, right, a lot of good things going. Anything else on that note? On the Cy Young watch?
Just happy for him. And, as baseball fans, not Padre fans, his spot got solidified more with Strider. His ERA is going up.
Yeah, close
and
to
then
4 now.
Steele, who was his stiffest competition going into their last outings, also had a bad outing where I think he gave up 6+ earned runs and took the loss.
Yeah, true. And I'm curious if, we just said that solidified his Cy Young candidacy. I wonder if that solidifies him leaving San Diego too.
He's pricing himself out.
That's what I think too.
I think he likes it here enough to where you can't take it off the table, right? Because he's very well rooted in San Diego and the organization.
Yeah.
And I think he really enjoys his teammates. So you can never completely look past that into what his decision-making process will be. But he's probably gone. And if nothing else, I love that he's leaving on a high note.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of years with him where he hasn't been what we were hoping he'd be. And now he's being everything we wanted him to be.
Cy Young Snell, baby. Cy Young Snell.
Tip the cap to Snell.
Love to see it. All right, cool. So let's hop into this article then. Let's hop into this article from The Athletic. Solely focused in on the Padres, probably just because it is one of the more fascinating stories in the MLB this year.
And depressing.
Yeah. But honestly, that's what it was. It was like, well, what went wrong?
We need answers.
Yeah, and so here's just a couple. I'm not going to give away the whole story and whatnot. We can leave a link in the description of this video. But honestly, if I had to pull out any one central key focus, it was kind of not pointing fault at any one person, but it was strongly AJ Preller might be the problem. Is the tone of what I got out of this. So one of the sections talked about, right, his relationship with Bo Mel and just, how Bo Mel's been around, right, 20 plus years managing in the MLB, so the dude knows what he's doing.
Multiple Manager of the Year awards.
He's won. He's done it before. He's, managed every type of player you can think of. Had a good first year, and then obviously something went on. So they addressed that relationship a little bit, and we've seen it. You mentioned earlier, even just interviews with the two guys, right? They're just they don't explicitly say oh yeah, that guy's great. They're just
both professionals.
He does his job, right?
They're both professionals, so you're never going to get that outburst that would just solidify ooh, they hate each other.
Yeah.
And they don't hate each other. No. But there's a difference of opinion in how to run and operate this team is what they're hinting at. And Bomel has openly said, Preller said it right.
Yeah.
We tend to butt heads at times, but being the pro that he is, he says that's important because eventually you come to a conclusion that is kind of mutually beneficial, hopefully, but that hasn't happened this year. They've had those issues. And then as far as Preller being the issue, there's always going to be, you need to point a finger at someone when you have a year like this. But I don't think it's all this year either. I've been advocating for maybe a change in the GM for a while now, just because Preller has had almost an unprecedented tenure at the major league level.
Yeah.
Meaning he came in and they said, here's money. Mm-hmm. Go do something with it. And he revamped the whole Padres organization and got Kemp, Myers,
Norris,
Craig Kimbrell, Middlebrook, Upton. That was like so exciting as a Padre fan because we had never seen those names come here. We weren't making those big signings. He gets titled as like the rock star GM, which I think he kind of ate up, honestly, because from that point on, every offseason he had to have the biggest and shiniest thing at almost any cost. Mm-hmm. And that's where it started to become an issue. We're getting rid of a lot of prospects who came up to do really good things later, and it hasn't panned out. So the roster construction, which is the GM's job, has just never been on point. Yeah. So the first time it didn't work. Second time, they say, you know what? Let's go for it again. Yeah. Here's more money. Right. And he goes out and gets all these big names, and for some reason, it's still not working again. And it's not the manager because we've gone through how many managers?
I think they said it was like 6, but that was including like interim managers when they let go of like an Andy Green.
But guess what? That kind of counts because sometimes an interim manager does well and they stay on. Like it's just, I'll count them. Yeah. Right? That's still a lot in his time.
Preller's been like 10 years or something?
He's had a fair shake at this.
So like 6 managers in 10 years too is no one's sticking around. So it's a little telling as well.
And they've been talking about how he's a bit of a micromanager. Mm-hmm. And he has been picking. No. You notice how in the beginning he was picking a lot of young guys to manage. Why young? Because they just want the opportunity. Right. He can mold them to what they want, what he wants, and not have an issue. When did he go to someone old? After we busted. Then everyone said, what are we doing with all these young, no experience managers? Right. And the public and the general view forced his hand to go to an established old-timey manager in Bo Mel, which was the right call. Yeah. So it's interesting.
But then, to your point, it's like Bo Mel comes in. Like we just said, he knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He's got one of the most proven track records in the entire league, right? But then that doesn't necessarily mesh well with a GM who likes to micromanage. Right. Hence that interesting relationship it appears that they have. So another interesting part that they brought up, because, by no means are we saying that AJ Preller doesn't know what he's doing. Because one thing that the article, and I think we would agree on, and most people in the industry would agree on, is that as far as like a talent evaluator, AJ Preller is probably one of the best in the league as far as, like international signings, draft picks. Obviously he's able to acquire guys like Soto. He picked up Tatis as part of a deal with James Shields, which probably might go down as one of the best trades by a Padres GM ever, So it's like there's no doubt that he knows what he's doing from a talent evaluation standpoint. And then it was interesting because they talked about in the article how he seems to know some of the areas where he's not super strong, which is, a very good trait to know, having that introspection. So he does constantly look for input. Yes. And he's always looking for feedback, and he's always bringing in new people to, bring new perspectives, new voices, all that, which is good, but can also kind of muddy the water. And so this was really interesting. I don't know if you heard about this, but they brought up this one guy who's been in the Padres organization front office now for 6 years. Mm-hmm. And his name is Don Tricker. Have you ever heard of him? Yeah. So apparently his background is he was a professional softball player in New Zealand. Then he was a consultant for the rugby team, the All Blacks, which is the best rugby team in New Zealand history, probably just rugby history. I think they're just the most winningest organization. So he consulted for them for a number of years. And then back in whatever it was, 2016, 2017, Preller and team meet with him, liked him a lot, brought him on, and he was supposed to take over like a bunch of different departments at the Padres front office. He was supposed to be in charge of like IT. He was supposed to be in charge of like a lot of like kind of medical, physical type stuff. But then it became very apparent that it was like, oh, he's not qualified for either of those jobs. Right. But then they're like, okay, well, what value does he bring? And they're like, well, he's really good at asking questions. And so people are like, okay, sure, why not?
Chief of questions.
Yeah, exactly. Chief of questions kind of guy. But apparently, at least how the article described it, they said that there was this weird lack of communication between, there's certain blocks that you put between your front office and then like your players and your coaches, right? Because you just have to, the business side of things. And so they said that there was just this guy who would just show up to team meetings, show up to practices, show up before games, and he would be asking these questions.
Be the ears.
But the questions were like, why are you taking batting practice at 50 miles an hour when the pitchers throw 95 miles an hour? And things like that. Like,
oh my Lord.
He was asking questions like that. And then a lot of people were like, does this guy even know how baseball works?
Right.
And I think the answer was no. Which you can't necessarily blame him for.
Yeah, you can't blame the guy. The guy's doing what he thinks is right.
He's coming in and trying to do his thing, but it was a head scratcher looking back. And to know that he was in there for 6 years, and a lot of players kind of would always see this guy asking really weird questions, like he did not know baseball, yet he's asking all these questions.
Questions from out of left field.
So apparently, they got some quotes from some former players, and they were like, "Yeah, it was really weird," and you didn't really know, there's so many weird mixed messages coming from the front office. And so apparently that's kind of what this article used to say, this was just one example of all the weird communication, miscommunication, lack of communication going on within the organization. So I thought that was really interesting.
You unloaded a lot there.
Yeah, I did.
There's a lot to break down.
Did.
One thing, you mentioned, he often brings people in to help him in his blind spots, his weak spots. Now, I've heard offhand from other people where if someone disagrees with Preller and isn't a yes man, they're gone. And to be honest, if we're running the track record of the high overturn, that's more likely the case than I'm trying to find someone to fill this blind spot. Be like, but you did that last year, and the year before that, and the year before that. Are they not doing it appropriately? Are they leading you astray? Or are they just not saying yes to you? Leave that for you to decide. I'm leaning towards he's looking for yes men.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the other part that you broke down was talent evaluation. We look at Tatis as the golden standard, the golden egg of his entire tenure because it deserves to be. He's a superstar. We have him for a long time, and he's extended him. He's awesome. We love Tatis.
Yeah.
I think that A.J. Preller is a better salesman than evaluator. And not to say he's a bad evaluator. I think he's incredibly good at selling his pieces because if you haven't noticed, we've gotten rid of a lot of really young prospects, unproven prospects, and he gets people with high ceilings. I think he looks at them as more of trade pieces to get his shiny objects. And if we really look deeper, how many of those prospects over his tenure have come up to make an impact at the big league level? Tatis. Who else? Really, it's a short list. And even shorter for their tenure here. So more props to him for being a good salesman than for necessarily being a good evaluator.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
It's got to be good enough.
I definitely see that, and especially when we talk about the trades, right? Like you said, the media, everyone just hypes him up as he's this young, forward-thinking rock star type GM. So if you're a young player, you're like, I want to play for the cool GM. You know what I mean? I'm sure that's part of it.
Probably, but also, wouldn't you kind of fear it because they're all getting traded?
At this point, maybe now you would.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my piece on Preller and my thoughts on him. But yeah, he's a good salesman. And honestly, if you ever listen, not many people listen to the GM's conferences. He's very well spoken. They ask him hard questions, and he's really good at evading them while giving just enough to not look like he's evading them that much.
I don't think I've ever seen him display any form of emotion, really.
Yeah, he's very stoic.
He's very just this is the job, this is my thoughts, this is how we're going about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that helps when negotiating. That's a great trait to have.
You
can't read him.
Poker face at all times.
Great poker face and well educated. The guy does his job. I think he works really hard to do what he does.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's from a lack of effort that he has not had success.
Yeah.
But at some point, you got to pull the plug because you've given this guy a ton of opportunities, and maybe just like a player, it just might not be the right place for him. Maybe he finds success somewhere else.
Maybe.
Good luck. But for us, I think that era has gone. It's been a decade.
Yeah. Good points. The last thing I'll touch on before moving on, it actually acts as a good segue here, is one of the last pieces in the article was talking about the leadership within the clubhouse and how actually, according to, they got some quotes from players, but they kept it, very anonymous. They didn't want to ruffle any feathers or anything. But it sounded like all the players at least were like, we're all cool with each other. There is we had speculated very early on that I was like, is there a cancer in the clubhouse? And it, according to the players, not really. No. It was more so the sense that they got is that, and we've talked about it a little bit, it's because there's so many freaking dudes and superstars, it's almost like they don't know who to look to, or everyone's always looking to each other. And we've talked about it before, and we think, Machado's got to be the guy.
Yeah.
That's how I see it, at least.
The way that everyone seems to portray it is Machado and Musgrove are kind of like, there's tons of leaders. It's not just one on either side, but those are the mains, right? Yeah. Those are the guys that kind of have the letter on the uniform. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Machado, I have faith in him as a leader. I think his message, one of the best things that you saw from Machado as a leader was he was an even keel guy. His message did not change from day one to now.
Right.
And it could have so easily changed because of the lack of success. You look for something else. You search for something else. He stayed true to his process. At the end of the day, did it bite us in the butt? Maybe, but we don't know what they say behind closed doors. Sure. But what he did as a leader to stick up for his team, not throw anybody under the bus,
never.
And to just stay true to his message, right or wrong, that's a good trait to have in a leader. Hopefully next year the message is better and he's a better leader as far as on the field, which he wants to. He's acknowledged that his play has not been as good as it needs to be.
No.
And he wears a lot of it. He doesn't have to. It wasn't just him failing this year.
Right.
And I like that out of him. I still feel really good about Machado being our captain.
Yeah, I do too. And I think you hit nail right on the head, because anytime people ask him about like, oh, teams unable to do this, teams unable to do that. And, his answer is always the same. It's always something along the lines of like, he's like, I'm not performing, like I'm not carrying the weight myself. And, I take responsibility for a lot of that, and, he's just, it's never an excuse. You know what I mean? He's just very much, he's like, it's not getting done and it's unacceptable. So
he also defends them too. Yeah. Like they'll be like, hey, what happened here? We lost. What do you want me to say? Like, it's just very like cut and dry. We need to play better baseball. We're going to go out there and play better baseball. We're not going to hit the panic button. We're going to go out and do our best, and that's all we can do.
Yeah. So, I just think going into 2024, we've been in locker rooms before. I think knowing your role is just so huge to me, and I think it's really important. And it just seemed like, last year he was thrusted almost. Like, he'd always been the leader, but, 2022, especially with Tatis going down and everything, he was thrust like there was no shot. Like, he was the guy, undisputed. No other.
His team.
Opposed to this year, it's, could be one of any 4, 5, 6 guys. Could have been Tatis, could have been Soto, could have been Machado, could have been Bogarts, could have been Cronenworth. Like there's so many guys who could have taken on the responsibility, and maybe there was some of that at play. So
I still think it's his team.
I think so
it
too.
Was his team this whole year.
I think it should have been.
It just was a weird year.
Yeah.
And they've talked about that. They're like, everyone wants to point a finger when really we just didn't play good enough baseball. Yeah. That's what it came down to. Because like you said, the clubhouse, they all like each other. There's been no indications of foul play in the clubhouse or people turning on each other or even on the manager for that matter.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about how great
praises his communication. He's just straightforward with everybody. You know what you're getting.
It might just chalk up to be one of the most weird, unlucky, poor performing seasons of Padres history. And it hurts because, I don't know about you. I think we agree on this. Like, I like a lot of our Padre players. Like, you listen to any of them talk after the game. Yeah. I'm not going, can you believe this, a-hole? Like, no, I feel by the end of it, even if I'm angry at the end of the game, I hear their response, I go, God, yeah, that sucks. Like, I wouldn't want to have to.
Right, and there's been times in the past too where you have a guy on your team and he's not doing well. You're like, get rid of him. As opposed to this
year, he's like the
year,
nicest guy too.
Right, and then this year with all, like you said, with all those guys, even when they weren't playing, my first instinct wasn't get rid of them. It's like, God, I really hope something clicks for them.
Yep.
And I don't know, maybe that's just us being us, but there's just a lot of good guys in the clubhouse. So.
I think this city has fallen in love with a lot of the players. You've got your Ha-Sung Kims, you've got your Tatis Juniors, and they've shown it by showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still getting sellouts. People are still showing up and chanting their names and cheering when they win. The fan base is great, and they've really stood behind them in a time where it's very hard to. So praise the fan base, and we've got good guys. And I'm actually really excited about next year. It's not even next year yet. We still have a chance.
We still got 9 games left,
but it's been good.
Last thing on Machado before we move on, because I do want to get the show moving. He's injured, right? We talked about he has tennis elbow. They said that he will need surgery if he's going to want to get his cannon back and be ready and healthy for next year. Apparently the timetable for that rehab is about 6 months is kind of what they're saying right now. Obviously, these guys have world-class surgeons and rehab, so I'd say a lot of times they can come back sooner, but you never know. There could be setbacks, there could be whatever. Do you think it's the right call? Because as of right now, he's just DHing, doing his thing, there for the squad. Or do you just go get the surgery, man? And it's only like 2 weeks of a difference, but that could be a big difference between starting opening day versus starting 2 weeks into the season. What's your take?
100%. And I think Manny is, like, first character. He won't get that surgery until we're mathematically eliminated.
Yeah.
I think it sends a message, right? I'm here until, the job is no longer to be done.
No.
And then from that point on, the focus becomes, how can I help our team for next year and be the best? Because that's when it matters, once you're eliminated. So I don't think he'll get the surgery until we're mathematically eliminated. I think he needs to get it right away. He's already said, I'm getting surgery. This has been lingering, I didn't know this, for over 2 years.
Yeah.
And Manny being the grinder he is, he doesn't like to miss games.
No.
He likes to be on the field.
Right.
So he does what he can to stay on the field and kind of labor through pain. We all know it's been very public. He'll play when he's hurt. Well, right now, he can't play. He's that hurt. So it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Long story long. Needs the surgery. He'll get it done after we're eliminated ASAP.
Sounds good. Cool. All right, let's shift gears. There's some heavy stuff, some deep stuff, some deep analysis. Time to play a game. Just like you wanted. So,
I need to pick me up.
Like I said, it wasn't super innovative. It's not anything super new. Earlier this year, you had me play stat leaders for the Padres.
Yes.
So we're going to play stat leaders this year, or this episode, but this time it's going to be bad stats only.
Golly. Yeah, let's throw.
So here's what we're talking about.
Hey, we really like these players. Let's talk about who's doing the worst. All right, go.
They're kind of just like funny.
Yeah.
So I've got it broken out similar to how you did. We've got position players. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different bad stats.
Okay.
Then we've got for pitchers, broken it between starting pitchers, relief pitchers, and we've got 4 stats that we're looking at there. Ready to roll?
I'm going to go as fast as I can and not put too much thought into it.
Let's do it.
Go.
Okay, so we're going to start with position players, hitters, and I'm trying to be a fair judge here. I'm not doing like if they were here for 3 games or whatever. It's like the main guys.
Got it.
Okay, so first one. Who has grounded into the most double plays?
Easy. Bogarts.
Boom. That was... Okay,
I know.
this guy knew his stuff. All right.
He's also slow.
It's a good one. So you got that one right. You know what? I'm actually going to mark these. Correct. All right. Next one. Who has the worst fielding percentage?
Ooh.
Of your usual starters.
Yeah.
It's not like a bench piece. It's like a guy who plays a lot. Has played a majority of the season.
Our infield's so good. Soto?
As you would say, the
Soto?
answer might surprise you.
Is it Soto?
It is not Soto.
Is it an outfielder?
No.
Okay, so it's an infielder. I had a feeling you'd have to be really bad in the outfield.
We'll give you one more guess.
Bogarts?
It's Manny Machado.
No way. Probably the injury.
Elbow,
Yeah.
Right? I thought it was surprising. He's .975, which is still really good.
Our defense is really good.
The
That's
defense
what
is
made
just
that question so hard.
There was actually Matt Batten's technically like .973 or something, but he has only played the last 20 games, so that's why I went Machado. But yeah, surprising, right? But I thought that was a good one. All right, next one. Worst caught stealing percentage, but they have to have attempted at least 10 stolen bases. That was in an effort to...
Who's been getting caught?
Yeah,
you know what's funny?
Who gets caught stolen?
Kim gets caught a fair amount, but he also has a lot of stolen bases. I'm going to go with Kim.
Good guess.
Is it Trent?
But no, it's Juan Soto.
Oh!
Yeah,
I didn't even
he gets
think
caught 32% of the time. I forget the exact numbers, but he got caught. I think he's tried like 11 or something and got caught stolen like 4 or something.
All right.
You can look it up,
Next.
but it's bad. So that was a funny one. What else we got? All right, this one, we'll go back, kind of an easier one. Who's got the lowest on-base percentage in the lineup? Your everyday guys.
Everyday guy. Is it Trent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Should have been an easy one.
It is.
Do you want to guess what it is?
No. 308?
That was really close. 314.
Oh, dude, I was really close.
That's tough. That's a tough one.
That is tough.
So we'll get you back. We got you back on the board. Ding ding. All right, last one. Who has the worst defensive runs saved on the Padres?
Is it infield or outfield?
I'm not at liberty to divulge.
Which means you don't want to tell me it's outfield because that gives you 3. Is it Juan Soto? Mm-hmm.
I've been telling you all year.
You want to know why
that he's bad
that stat?
out there.
I knew that one, and why I guessed the fielding percentage. Yeah. Fielding percentage for an outfielder, it's always high. You have to like literally botch a ball for it to count as an error. Whereas if we're doing analytics on probability of things being
StatCast type stuff,
that's where Soto's misplayed balls go into play.
That's what I've been saying, man. He's -6.
Yeah, it's not great.
Which is bad.
Every time you think he's just dog poop in the outfield, he does make a weirdly good play.
Yeah, he'll randomly make a nice play. But like I said before, too, it's like, is it him making a nice play or is it him taking a bad step, making up for it?
I don't know. I don't see him make too many weak diving plays because that's the one I think about, right? You misplay a ball and you dive, but it's like you wouldn't have had to dive if you had a good jump.
Yeah.
I think of the plays where he takes a one-hopper off the wall and puts a seed onto second. That's what I'm thinking of his good plays. But anyways, pitchers.
Yep. Cool. So
I did bad and good in that one.
You got 2 of... No, wait, 3. You got that one right. 3 of 5.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. Better than Trent Grisham's on-base percentage. I guess 2 out of 5 would have been better.
Yeah.
Ouch. Sorry, Trent. Okay, we'll go with... do you want to start with starting pitchers or relief pitchers?
Starting.
It's the same statistics, so it'll be quick.
Starting.
Starting pitchers. Okay. Who has, excluding Blake Snell, who has the worst walks per 9 innings?
Is it Tim Hill? Or starters.
I'll accept 2 answers, actually.
Is it Yu Darvish?
I'll give you one more guess. And like I said,
Joe doesn't walk
I'll accept 2.
Oh. Is it Walker? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Random, right?
Yeah,
super random. 3.1. And honestly, I think that's more
bad.
a credit to the other starters just being good.
Lugo
doesn't walk guys. Darvish had a good year with that. Didn't walk guys. Musgrove didn't pitch a whole lot. The other answer I would have accepted was Pedro Avila. He's actually up there. 4.9. Which is a lot. But I was like, he was a reliever most of the year. He's had a couple starts, so either one I would have accepted. This one is most wild pitches. It's easy.
As starter, my guess would be Snell.
Don't overthink it. That's
a lot of balls in the dirt. Well, you know who I was thinking? Joe Musgrove, because he always has that back foot slider. He'll spike a slider, but Snell.
Next. Yeah, but total innings, you got to think about that one. All right, this one's kind of interesting. There's kind of no way you would know, but who's going to be the least lucky starting pitcher? Who's given up the most unearned runs on the year?
You. Lugo?
Oh, don't picture the pod. Just kidding. It's Lugo, yeah.
Okay.
Lugo with 4.
That's it?
Yeah. Not a lot. There's
Dude,
really not
our defense isn't so
good. The defense is good. What can we say? But yeah, so it was Lugo. And then final one is who's got the most losses? Padres starting pitching staff.
It's either you or Snell. It's you.
Correct. He has 10 losses this year. Rough.
Something about him reminded me he had double digits.
Yeah.
And Snell is close to that, but he doesn't have it. All right.
Sweet.
Relievers.
All right, same thing on the relievers. Who's got the most walks per 9 as a reliever?
Tim Hill? Really? Okay.
I believe he was second.
Of course he was.
Yep.
Garcia? All right, who?
Hader. 4.9.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Lots of walks.
Lots of Ks, though, too.
Yeah. All right, who's got most wild pitches as a reliever? I'll accept 2 answers. Kind of gave away one of them.
Is it Hader? Tim Hill? Dude.
Surprising,
What?
right? Well, he's been injured the
Hill,
last month or 2 of the season.
Oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. Hold on. God, I can't think of our relievers right now. It's driving me crazy. Give me 3 more seconds.
3.
Cosgrove?
Nope.
Who?
It is Luis Garcia with 4, or Pedro Avila has 5.
I didn't think out of luck counted.
No, that's why I said it. Except
I was
2.
thinking of people with like the biggest moving off speed pitches. Mm-hmm. So I thought Snell, Cosgrove.
Right.
And 4, that's it?
Yeah, right?
Pretty good.
Good catchers,
All
too.
right.
All right, next one is unlucky relievers. Who has the most unearned runs as a relief pitcher? This one actually, once you hear it, it'll make a lot of sense. Because you'll be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Is that how that works, Vince? Thanks. Dude, I honestly couldn't do it.
You've said his name a couple times.
Yeah, Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was Hill, but I'm like, I've guessed Hill for every stat.
Yeah, it is Tim Hill with 9 unearned runs, and I'll tell you why. Because he throws
it
the ball
away
away
to first. Yeah,
every single time. They'll just
thinking that
bunt, and he'll just pick it up and throw it into right field.
Quick little side note.
Yeah.
I definitely think that if a pitcher commits the error, it should count as an earned run.
Yeah, it's a good take. I like it.
Unearned is supposed to be not of their fault.
Right.
And it is
It's
their
directly
fault.
his fault. That's interesting.
Anyways, next.
Last one, who's got the most losses as a reliever? And this one's, there's 4 possible answers. Sorry, 3 possible answers, because there are 3 pitchers tied with 4
Garcia?
losses.
Shut up. With all of his implosions that he had in the middle of the year? Okay. Hader doesn't have 4 losses, does he? I just can't think of many relievers right now. I'm like off the walls on this. Who is it?
Either Hill, Tim Hill, and Rich Hill both have 4 losses.
Rich Hill.
Yeah,
God, he
doesn't
got
count.
4 losses with us?
And
God.
Honeywell has 4.
Oh,
But
well,
that one
2 of
doesn't
them were
count
like
either.
never around and one was injured.
That's why I would count either of them if you had said them. But Tim Hill is the best answer.
Yes.
Yeah. So that has been this episode of Bad Stat Leaders. See how you did.
That was weird.
Let's
Not
see.
good.
You were 3 for 5 with the position players, and you were 3 for 4 with starting pitchers. You just were 1 for 4 with relief pitchers.
Yeah, not great.
Which is
not-
what, a grand total of what? 3, 7 out of what? 5, 9,
13?
13. Not bad.
Not the worst.
Felt worse.
Felt worse because
Felt
I went on a
just
cold
because
streak.
you were hot and then you just fell off the train with
I
the
imploded.
relievers.
like the Padres. Call me 2021 Padres.
Yeah. Cool. Did it. Good job. Good stuff.
I like this next segment. It's my favorite one.
Favorite one?
Prospect Watch.
That's right. Time to talk prospects. All right. I know this episode's been going, so let's hop into it. Our prospect this week is starting pitcher, right-hander, Dylan Lesko.
Klesko? Ryan Klesko?
No, it's let's go. Dylan, let's go. That's not, I'm sure he's never heard that before. Anyway, so let's talk about Dylan here. He is 6'2", 195, right-hander out of Buford, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Went to the same high school. Little fun fact for you. I know you love your fun facts. Same high school as Giants catcher Joey Bart and Phillies outfielder Brandon Marsh.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, evidently they breed some talent over there. He was the Padres' first-round draft pick back in 2022, I believe it was. Yeah. So
Recently.
Very recent. First-round draft pick. He was actually the first high school pitcher to win the National Gatorade Player of the Year as a junior.
That's pretty sweet.
That's big. Get this. Over 60 innings pitched in his junior year. He had a .35 ERA with 112 strikeouts.
Is that good?
That's
or?
almost 2 strikeouts an inning.
That's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Gore got that Player of the Year award as a senior.
Yeah. So this kid did it as a junior, and Georgia is no slouch state for high school ball. Like, those guys are good.
Good baseball.
Very good. So some good competition. So he was actually projected after that year especially, and he still shoved it his senior year numbers. I didn't actually look into the numbers because he got hurt his senior year, but he was shoving, allegedly, up to that point. Projected to potentially be the first pitcher taken in the draft was his projection. Goes down, needs to get Tommy John. Got Tommy John surgery in April. I believe the draft is in June, so it was only 2 months before the draft. He slid a little bit, but still went 15th overall. So, yeah, what's up?
Can you imagine being that kid? Your future is written on the wall. Mm-hmm. You are going to be the first pitcher taken in the draft. You have already won the Gatorade Player of the Year award, and you feel your elbow, and you need Tommy John. You're 18. How do you deal with that? That's adversity.
Tough.
First check of adversity. Okay, go on. Had to stop it there. That's crazy. That's deep. That's deep.
That's tough. That's tough. So yeah, let's talk about his pitches a little bit. So he throws a fastball, a curveball, and a changeup.
Okay.
Fastball sits. They said before the injury, 92, 93 would touch uppers when he really went after it, but they're anticipating him. Obviously, he was only a junior in high school, so he's going to grow. He's going to get the major league strength programs. So he's probably going to be sitting around mid 90s to upper 90s.
Dope.
That'll work. I said decent curveball, nothing like too crazy, but gets the job done. What he really, really, really excels at is his changeup. Everyone is so hyped. He has the highest graded changeup in the Padres system. And overall on the scouting report, it is a 70 grade.
Out of 80?
Out of 80. And so really just for reference, 80 is considered like one of a kind. You're talking
Greg Maddux.
You're talking
Trevor Hoffman
changeup. You're talking a Mariano Rivera cutter. Like that's an 80 grade. They're grading his changeup at a 70, which is just right there.
And how old is he? Right.
Like, he's 20 years old.
Exactly.
And he already has an elite changeup, according to pretty much all scouts across the board.
One of my favorite pitches in the entire game.
Right? So if you can throw, mid-upper 90s and then just a ridiculous change, I think they said low 80s changeup. So you're talking about 15 to 20 miles an hour difference with probably the same arm action. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you hit a changeup like that, to be honest with you.
No.
And less likely, he obviously already had the Tommy John. But, if you think about it, if you're strictly a fastball changeup guy, potentially less arm injuries down the road. Who knows?
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And to be honest, fastball changeup has longevity. Mm-hmm. Look at who's the guy in the Cubs? Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks.
Kyle Hendricks, yeah. Oh, yeah, he's a changeup first guy, isn't he?
He's a pitcher. Wouldn't it be nice to have a pitcher, not a hurler, come up?
Right.
And if he was throwing 92, 93 before that, guess what? High schoolers nowadays face 90 miles an hour on a somewhat regular basis, especially in good states. Your California, your Georgia.
Face it too.
And he's getting those people out with 92, 93. Mm-hmm. That means his changeup's good, and it means he's pitching.
Yeah.
And I love that. We draft so much on the arm, the cannon, and then try to help them learn how to pitch. This is a kid who's pitching. Well, right. And we're going to and now he might get an uptick and develop a stronger arm.
That's what they're saying too, right? And it's like changeups too, I feel like are the pitch that a lot of guys never figure out, right? Mm-hmm. There's many big league pitchers who would love to have a good changeup.
So it's a hard slider.
Yeah, never develop it. And he's already got an elite level changeup.
I'm excited.
Yeah, big league caliber pitch, they say. So that's very exciting. He did pitch a little bit this year, but again, he was coming off Tommy John surgery, so he didn't pitch a whole lot. Pitched in Lake Elsinore. I believe now he's on Fort Wayne right now with the Tin Caps, who are going to be playing in the playoffs for the minor league. So that'll be cool, and he is pitching. It's very average numbers. It looks like is 4-point-something ERA, whatever. Small sample size. Again, the kid's coming off injury and hasn't pitched in like 2 years. So that is Dylan Lesko. He's projected to they project him to be in the big leagues by 2027, but honestly, like if the changeup is good as it sounds, it seems sooner than that. But a lot of scouts are really excited about his 2024 season just because it's like he'll be healthy.
2027?
Well, let's see. He's 20.
Bro.
That's 3.5 years from now. So 23, 24.
I guess.
I
think part of me is forgetting how old we are. I hear 2027. That seems forever away. But no, that's exciting, man. I'm stoked about it. You say middle of the road numbers with like a 4 ERA, but like this kid's playing. He's 20 in the minors,
right?
Doing his
First
thing.
Taste.
4 is serviceable, especially in where the Padres play. I mean, Lake Elsinore, you can pitch pretty well there. It's not hitter friendly, but exciting.
But yeah, so very projectable, very excited. Look for him. I'd imagine he'd be in spring training 2024. I'd imagine he'd get some innings. Yeah. But definitely keep an eye out. Because this kid, I want to see this change up. Yeah.
I'm stoked.
Yeah. It's going to be good stuff. And that is our prospect spotlight for the week. Dylan Lesko. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go.
I got next week.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Awesome. All right.
Long one.
Yeah. Long one. Let's wrap it up here. A look ahead. Keep it short. We've got St. Louis at home for 3 games. They've been scuffling, as we know, all year. And then you've got San Francisco in San Francisco.
In the wild card race.
And they're fighting for their life. And who knows? If the Padres sweep, let's say they sweep the freaking Cardinals.
It gets weird.
They might be right back in it. They're going to be at 500.
Gets weird.
If you sweep the Cardinals. And then you're playing against a division rival, a wild card rival.
Expect a playoff atmosphere.
Snell's going to be pitching that series.
It'll be a playoff atmosphere if they sweep going into the Giants series. Just because that is our playoffs.
Nope.
Potentially.
Nope. So crazy.
And then the White Sox.
Yeah. White Sox will be the last, and that's in Chicago. And they have been having a tough year as well. So, I mean, the cards are stacking up for the Padres.
We talked about it all year.
Ha-Seong Kim was out for a little bit with they didn't say exactly what it was. Something with his abdomen, stomach area. But Bo Mel said he should be back for this series against the Cardinals. Always nice to have him back. And then Campy, X-Man. These guys are on fire. So, I mean,
let's have a fairy tale ending.
It's going to be fun.
Let us be Cinderella and not the pumpkin.
Exactly. But yeah, so that does it for this week. Let's go Padres. Let's see what happens. Why not?
If you made it this far, pat yourself on the back. We appreciate you.
See ya.